D-A-day, D-E-D, D-I-dicky-di, D-O-do, dicky-di-do, D-U-do, dicky-di-do-do. F-A-F-A, F-B-B, F-I-Bicky-Fi, F-O-Fo, Bicky-Fi-Fo, F-U-Foo, Bicky-Fi-Fo-Foo. G-A-J, G-E-G, G-I-Jicky-Jai, G-O-Jo, Jicky-Jai-Jo, G-U-Ju, Jicky-Jai-Jo-Ju, la-da-da-da.
In this video, I'm going to be introducing a topic from the grammar for 3A, that is comparison of adjectives. What do I mean when I say comparison of adjectives? When I talk about comparison of adjectives, it's the general phenomenon of creating different forms of adjectives to indicate different degrees of equality. When, for instance, I say old, older, oldest, that's the phenomenon of comparison of adjectives, or new, newer, newest. Okay? In English, adjectives have what we call 3 degrees. We have the positive degree, which is just the normal form of the adjective, let's say old. We have the comparative degree, which typically has an ER, older. And we have what's called the superlative degree, which typically ends in English in EST, oldest. So old is the positive degree, older is the comparative degree, and oldest is the superlative degree. Here are some other examples. New, newer, newest, ugly, uglier, ugliest, good, better, best. Sometimes instead of using the endings ER and EST, we use the words more and most, typically for longer adjectives. For instance, beautiful, more beautiful, most beautiful. So the phenomenon of comparison of adjectives deals with the creation of the various degrees that an adjective can have to indicate the intensity of its quality. Now, Latin too has these degrees. I'm going to look at the word longest. Longest, longa, longum, in Latin means long. It's obviously with English with longum. Longest, longa, longum. And it too has degrees, as in English. In Latin, you can say longus, which means long, which is the positive degree. Longior, which means longer, the comparative degree. And longissimus, which is the superlative degree, longest, okay? Here are some other examples. Altus, altior, altissimus. Altus means tall, altior means taller, altissimus means most tall or tallest. Stultus means stupid, stultior means stupider, and stultissimus means stupidest. Bonus means good, melior means better, optimus means best. Okay? Well, how do we make the comparative degree of a Latin adjective? That is, the form like longer, or slower, or newer. It's very, very easy. All you do is you put eor on the stem. For instance, from the word longest, longa, longum, which means long, we simply say longior. Here are other examples. Here are other examples. Stultus goes to stultior, facilis goes to facilior. Now, the form in eor is actually masculine and feminine. The neuter ends in ius. So the full name of the comparative form is longior longius, sometimes written short like longior longius. So when I say longest, longior, longissimus, when I give you that comparative form, longior, I'm actually only giving you the masculine and feminine form. The full name is actually longior longius, okay? So the adjective that means longer is longer, longius, longior, longius, and longior is masculine and feminine, and longius is neuter. Let's look at some other examples. Stultior, stultius. This is the full name of the Latin adjective that means stupider. Facilior, facilius is the full name of the Latin adjective that means easier. Well, you may remember that most third declension adjectives are I stems that have I stem endings. Okay, here's an example. Omnis. The word omnis. If you were to take the word omnis and compare it to a chart of I stem endings, as I have given you, you would discover that omnis follows exactly the endings of I stems in the third declension. However, Comparatives are third declension, but they aren't I stems. So they use consonant stem endings. Let me repeat this. The vast majority of adjectives in the third declension are I stems through and through. There are a handful that are consonant stems. You may remember the word pauper, you may remember the word dives. But all comparatives in classical Latin are consonant stems, not I stems, which is truly a pain. I wish it weren't so, but there you have it. And if you look at these carefully, you'll discover that this longior as it declines has consonant stem endings. For instance, in the ablative singular, it doesn't have a long I, it has an E, longiore, longiore, longiore. And in the accusative masculine and feminine, it's always longiores. It does not have a long IS. And in the neuter accusative and nominative, it's longiora. It's not like anomalia or omnia. It's not got the I there. There's no I stem. And the genitive plural ends in um, not ium. So it's longiorum, longiorum, and longiorum. Okay. One final thing I want to point out that may or may not interest you. You'll note that the actual stem has a long or, longior. And I think I've told you that in Latin, if you want to make a masculine nominative singular form of a word whose stem ends in R, you just use the stem. And that's exactly what happens here with longior. But I want to point out that that O would like to be long, but it can't be long because it's followed by a final R. And remember, all vowels before final M, T, and R are short. So let's go on to the superlatives, the est forms, like biggest or best, right? To make a superlative, add issimus to the adjective stem. For instance, longest goes to longissimus. Stultus goes to stultissimus. Audax goes to audacissimus. So this means long, and this means longest. Stupid, stupidest. Bold, boldest. But notice, remember, the stem of audax is, the word audax is audax, audacis. The stem is audac, ending in a C. That's why we went up with audacissimus there. Okay. Now, this is where things get a little hairy. Adjectives that end in ER always do something a little bit weird in the superlative. What they do is they add rimus to their nominative masculine singular form. So, pulcher goes to pulcherimus, right? This happens for any adjective that ends in ER. Pulcher, pulcherimus. This means pretty, this means prettiest. Miser means wretched. Most wretched is miserimus. Celer means swift. Most swift is celerimus. And this happens for any adjective that ends in ER. It doesn't matter what declension it is. First and second declension adjectives or third declensions. Celer is a third declension adjective. These are both adjectives of the first and second declension. It doesn't matter. All adjectives whose nominative masculine singular form ends in ER do this, okay? One other final thing that's a little bit weird. A few adjectives that end in illis, like faculus and similis, have slightly goofy superlative forms. So faculus goes to facilimus, that just has to be memorized, and similis goes to similimus, that just has to be memorized. So this means easy, this means most easy or easiest, this means similar, this means most similar. The nice thing about superlatives is that they decline exactly like our old friend multus, multum, multum. They're standard adjectives of the first and second declension. So if you learned multus, multum, multum long ago as you should have, you know them right away. They're declined with great ease, okay? Finally, I have to mention one awful thing is, as in English, which has words like good, better, best, and or comparisons like good, better, best, and bad, worse, and worse, Latin has some irregular adjectives. For instance, to say good, better, best in Latin, you say bonus, melior, optimus. To say bad, you say malus, peor, pessimus. To say, for the word for much, more, and most, you say multus plus plurimus. And for great, greater, greatest, or big, bigger, biggest, you say magnus, major, maximus. Those are just irregular, they just have to be memorized. We'll deal with them later. And that is the end. Thank you very much.
D-A-day, D-E-D, D-I-dicky-di, D-O-do, dicky-di, do, D-U-do, dicky-di, do. F-A-F-A, F-B-B, F-I-bicky-fi, F-O-Fo, bicky-fi, Fo, F-U-Foo, bicky-fi, Fo-Foo. G-A-J, G-E-G, jicky-jai-jo, G-U-Ju, jicky-jai-jo, Ju. La